Thanksgiving. How you guys feeling?
Fat and happy.
Fantastic. I got my sweatpants on, so
nice. Under the table, yeah.
So, Freedom Path Investors Podcast, Brian Johnson.
Jake LaRose.
And we've got Mr. Dustin Hoog with us today.
How are you doing, guys?
Good.
So Dustin, you are a local investor here in the St. Louis market. Yep. And you've done a little bit of everything in the real estate investing space.
Almost everything, I think, yeah.
And now you are in the hard money lending business.
Yep.
So wanted a chance to talk to our guests today about the hard money business, combining that with real estate investing.
Yep.
And just tell our guests a little bit about yourself and your journey in real estate real quick.
Yeah, I'd love to. So my journey actually started a little bit different because I went into more of the traditional side of real estate because I got my real estate license as a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that's almost 7 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. So got that, the story about that, funny and quick. It was, I don't know, maybe 2 a.m, might have been intoxicated. And there was a website that said, would you make a good real estate agent?
Okay.
Take a test. So I took the test, and of course they called me and said I'd make a great one.
Oh, yeah.
So took that, got my license eventually while I was working full-time for a company selling advertising. Had no intention of becoming a full-time agent. So I did that part-time, and I was the rookie of the year at that brokerage, which was cool.
That's awesome, man.
Then I was recruited to the #1 real estate team in St. Louis to be their listing specialist in St. Charles County.
Okay.
So, and at that time, my boss I had at the advertising company was retiring, and he was one of those good bosses. And I'm like, I don't want to work for anyone else.
Yeah.
So I took the opportunity. Well, I went to my fiance at the time, and I'm like, listen, I know we get married in 8 months. I'm going to go ahead and quit my very secure, very full-time, very high-paying job. And I'm going to go into real estate full-time.
Everyone wants
You know all those good things that you liked about me? Yeah, I'm getting rid of those.
I'm getting rid of those. I'm very blessed with a very supportive wife, and she's like, all right. So I went into real estate full-time.
Nice.
Did not like working for that team at all. Fast forward, ended up quitting about 4 months in, going back to the brokerage I started at, put my head down and started grinding and doing very well in real estate.
Okay.
At that time, they actually offered me to be an owner in that position because they were going through some ownership change. So I was actually an owner of that brokerage for about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Then another, Keller Williams, recruited me in St. Charles County to be their coach, to actually coach other real estate agents, which is a big passion of mine. So I did that. I left that, gave them back the shares of the company. It was a family company. I didn't need to take that with me or anything like that. Went to Keller Williams, coached for 2 offices there, loved it. And then I got the bug of investing. My wife.
You catch that bug after.
So, well, I've always known investing in real estate was going to be the path for freedom and the path to build wealth. So I brought home a book called Hold, H-O-L-D, by Gary Keller.
Yep.
My wife read, I'm going to say like 7 pages of it and said, let's do it. So I said, okay.
And now I know who the boss is.
So I knew I thought I knew everything there was to know about real estate. I've been coaching agents. I've sold a bunch of real estate. So I was like, well, the only way, you buy it on the MLS, you put 20% down, and then you have a rental property.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. It was a great rental, and then I ran out of 20%. And then I went to a local RIA, which is Faster House, Faster Funds, which is the company I now am the lender for. And I was hooked. I mean, it was like a drug to me. I won a coaching session with the owner of Faster House and the coach they had at that time. And we sat at that table, bought our second rental and signed up for coaching, and I never looked back.
Wow.
And that was December of 17.
Okay.
Since then, I actually looked it up because we did a dinner for all of our contractors and employees last week. We've bought 57 houses.
57 since 2017.
Since really March of 18.
Okay.
Is that your total portfolio right now, or 59?
No, because we've sold some of those.
Okay.
So yeah, that was rehabs in there as well as rentals. So my wife and I have 30 rentals right now. We have 4 properties in rehab stage, and I close on another one Monday.
Nice.
Then I have a partner and we've done 17 purchases in the last 2 years together.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Cool. Yeah.
So what was your experience as just being a full-time agent? Is that something you knew immediately, like, this isn't for me, I'm going to transition to the investing side? Or?
No, not really. I mean, being an agent's awesome, and it's a simple business, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
So you can make a ton of money being a real estate agent. I know a ton of people who make a ton of money in real estate. But it didn't excite me that much, and it was a job. I like owning rentals because I don't consider it a job. I'm building my net worth, and it's going to come when I don't have to work. Right?
Yeah.
Where being a real estate agent is not that way. Now you can grow a team, and I know a lot of people who've grown a team, yet they still are working in it. So really, I still hold my license, right? I still hold my license, but it doesn't give you as much freedom as rental properties do.
Right.
I believe out there, all real estate agents should be investing in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like funding your retirement, as you kind of said there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So you built a pretty respectable portfolio in a short time, doing some flips, and you got this opportunity to go work with Faster Funds Lending. So what are you doing with them now?
So and that's a funny story too. So Faster Funds Lending is the hard money company that I used from the beginning. And they always say that when they were looking for this position, to fill this position, they looked at their number one borrower. So I borrowed a lot of money from them. So they offered me the position, but I'm the loan officer for that company, which I absolutely love because I get to help investors fund their dream of investing in real estate. So that's my position there, is bringing on new investors and building the relationships with the people that we lend to now, to making sure it's a win-win situation all the way around.
Love it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's dive in a little bit about just hard money, what it is, why investors should want to use it. We really feel strongly about it with the BRRRR method, which pretty much everybody using Faster Funds, or most of them, are using that process. So speak a little bit to, a newer investor that, they just want to get a deal.
Right.
And then I see a lot of people like this. I was like this in the very beginning, like I'm going to hustle, get a deal. And then now what?
Right.
You got to get the money, right?
Right.
So
the nice thing is OPM, right? That is not a drug, or it is a drug, however you look at that, but that is other people's money. And the reality is in real estate investing, money should never be your issue.
Yes.
It's out there because the person who has the money can make a return on that too. So hard money lending, or what a hard money is, it's a short-term financing based off the property more than it's based off the borrower.
Right.
Now, us personally, we do look at the borrower, we look at their credit, we make sure they pay their bills, but more importantly, we look at the property and does it make sense? Can you get in and out of it in 6 months? Does the numbers work on it? Is it too big of a rehab for a brand new person, right? As a brand new person, you don't want to be doing a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 rehab because everything will go wrong. Whether you've been doing it or you haven't been doing it, things are going to go wrong in real estate. So our biggest thing is we want to make sure it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, I know that there are maybe some other lenders out there that wouldn't look so much at the lender's ability to actually perform on that property, and they're more looking at the property itself. So that is one of the ways that Faster Funds helps their lenders get out from bad situations, or just prevent them from getting into bad situations.
Our goal is not to ever take back the house. And I know there's hard money lenders out there that is
they're in the house repo business.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, that's not. The company in its history, I want to say, is taken back 3 or 4.
Yeah, very minimal.
It's very, very minimal. And one of the persons died. It's one of those things that it's a very minimal, because we want to make sure we're lending to the right people and make sure it's the right deal where the borrowers win.
Yes.
That's the biggest part. We just don't want to win.
If the borrowers win, they keep borrowing from you, you keep making more money. And
it's a relationship game for us, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
So hard money combined with BRRRR. Everybody knows, or if you listen to this channel at all, BRRRR process: you buy it, you rehab it, you rent it, and you refi.
And you
repeat.
I'm missing one R there.
Always repeat.
So for the newer lender, maybe this is their first deal and they're looking to buy with the B.
Yep.
How are you guys helping them mitigate the risk? I'm sure there's some level of coaching that comes along with, like, hey, maybe you do or don't want this
Absolutely. And one of the things is we don't charge an appraisal fee. We actually walk the property with you.
Yeah.
And that's where, we always say, put a contingency in your contract so we can walk it. Because that way we're going to see things that you haven't seen, because we walk hundreds of houses a year.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And we've done it. We are all local investors in the marketplace that we lend to.
You're functional experts.
Yeah. And that is a huge thing. It was a huge part of my success and everyone else's success that we work with. We're going to see things that we see. Is there coaching? There's always coaching. Yeah. Whether the person's owned 30 or whether they've owned 1, there's always going to be some kind of coaching involved in that.
Is that kind of hard feelings a little bit with their borrowers when they bring you into a house and you guys are like, run away, do not buy this property? Do you ever get that animosity or anything like that?
I could see that. Comps are something that's always big, right?
Yeah.
So And the reality of it is, and I've been an agent for a long time and I've sold a ton of houses, you can sway $15,000 pretty easily on your comps.
Yes.
On what it's going to refi for, what it's going to appraise for, or what it's going to sell for. So we may or may not disagree with somebody's comps, but that doesn't mean we're not going to lend on the deal.
Yeah.
You might have to put a little bit of your own money into the deal at that point, not the whole purchase price.
Yeah.
But if you have to bring $10,000 into the deal versus putting 20% down,
Yeah.
but you trust and you believe in your comps so well, then why wouldn't you do that?
Exactly. That's another kind of misconception with the BRRRR method is that ideally it's a no money out of pocket situation, but it's not the end of the world if you put $2, $3, $4, $5 into the deal. As long as you can afford that and keep buying homes, like not that big of a deal because you have a cash flowing asset, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's like your first property that you bought where we did traditional 20% down. How many times can you do that a year?
Right. Exactly. Not much.
Yeah.
And what I've learned going through this is it's not no money in the deal. Eventually it's no money in the portfolio.
Okay.
Right. So, and what I mean by that is I've had to keep, I don't want to ever use the word loss because I still own the property, but I've had to keep $5,000, $6,000 in this house and $2,000 in this house and $3,000 into this house. But then I refi this one and I pulled out $18,000.
Right.
Well, guess what? Now my portfolio has no money into it because that just paid all that off.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So I look at everything as my whole portfolio now, which in the beginning, it's hard to do that, but now it's, hey, this is what my portfolio does.
So it's like dollar cost averaging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think one of the biggest misconceived notions, I probably didn't say that right, but when people are getting into real estate investing, they go to a guru class and it's like, invest in real estate, no money out of pocket, do it all for free. It's like, okay, that's a big lie. Like you got to pay to get the leads if you're going to go about direct to seller. You do have to come out of pocket some, to get these purchases rolling and turn on the bills, utilities and everything. And if it's not that, you want to have some dry powder in your bank. You want to have some storage, some capital set aside. So what's your biggest advice for somebody like that thinks they're going to start doing all these real estate deals without any money?
Well, so there's three things that you need in real estate investing. Okay.
Teach.
Money.
Yep.
Time.
Yep.
Or knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, the reality is most people will have 2 out of the 3. Or maybe really 1 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to be able to sacrifice one of those 3 to be able to get into this business. So if you don't have any money, you don't have any knowledge, great. Work for someone else.
Yeah.
Use your time. Now my time is my asset. Now I can work for someone else to start doing this.
Right.
If you have money, but you don't have time or any knowledge, great. Be a private lender. Invest in someone.
Yep.
If you have all the knowledge in the world and all the money in the world, but you don't have time, hire someone. Right. It's those 3 things. And very few people have all 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's once you find what you're missing, go play on the attributes you do have, and then it all works.
It all kind of stitches together over time. Yeah, absolutely.
I tell a lot of newer people that all the time. Like you have to be prepared to invest a lot of time or have some money to put into it. So
it's a similar conversation with sellers. I don't mean to segue too much, but it really is.
It
like
is,
you have time, money, or knowledge on how to get the house to the standard you want to get to, not a standard, to get to the money that you want for the property. I mean, we
can't speak from experience on the buy side. We've done a few loans with faster funds, and there's been a couple properties you guys have come out to with us, and it's not like you discourage from us, but you get the second. It's always good to have a second set of eyes, right?
Yep.
So, hey, maybe you guys weren't thinking about this. There's a $5,000 tree you probably got to take down. Or,
$5,000 to $8,000.
I think it's a little bit more than 5 if I recall.
Or maybe it's some good advice like, hey, I think if you did this with the property, you could get another $10,000 on the appraisal. So it's always good to have a second set of eyes, especially somebody with the experience within faster funds.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you mentioned earlier, it's who's the boss, right? My wife or I. My wife started feeling okay because faster funds would walk the properties.
Yeah.
So there's several properties that we own that she hasn't ever seen.
Yeah.
But she felt confident because there was always that second set of eyes there.
Yeah. And Suzanne would be the one who was watching it. She's leads that company and everything like that, and so she's very polite and she's very English how she criticizes the property. That's the best way I know how to put it. She knows how to call the baby ugly without saying it's ugly.
Absolutely. There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So on the next step in the process, the rehab side, how do you guys work with your borrowers when it comes to the rehab part of the process?
So there's two ways that you can go about the rehab of the property, and that you can fund it yourself with your own funds, credit card money, a line of credit, whatever that is, you can fund it yourself, or you can borrow the rehab funds in your loan, as long as the numbers make sense.
Yeah.
And then that is actually done on a construction disbursement.
Yep.
So a construction disbursement is the borrower still has to upfront pay for the contractor, get a lien waiver and receipt, they submit that, and then they're reimbursed those funds.
Right. Yep.
So it's going to be a longer project, 6 months out there. You might not want to have $50,000, $60,000 rolled up into a property.
Yep.
You want to get that money back,
Yep.
so you can start using it for other things. So that's where the construction disbursement would come into play as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've gone that route using the draw process, and we're trying to get set up where we've got our own rehab money
Yep.
set aside too. So there's more flexibility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We still love the flexibility of using the hard money for the purchases, for sure.
Yeah.
And the process is so easy with you guys, where it's like, why wouldn't we always do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the rehab process, what else should a borrower know?
The rehab process is, because I was not a handy person, I'm still not a handy person. In my opinion, it's one of the most challenging if you don't know how to work on the house yourself, right? Because then what? You don't know what it's going to cost you. You're going to get screwed over by contractors, whatever it is. So that's you've got to do your homework, right? You've got to do your due diligence on that. You can talk to a bunch of contractors, do it yourself, or you can surround yourself with other people who are doing it and get referrals that way.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big one. Or you can hire a coach. I did all three. I was also blessed when I started. I'm very blessed. My stepdad is one of my lead contractors. So I knew he wasn't going to screw me. And I knew he knew how to fix everything.
Helps control the cost.
So that helps. So it's a little unfair advantage that I had there.
Yeah.
But I also hired a coach because that's what got me through most of my first rehabs.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I would also say, especially if you've never done business with someone there, you need to check up on that property 3-4 times a week, if not every day.
Yeah.
Walk the property. Did they do what they said they were going to do? I'm big on that. Did you do what you say you were going to do?
That seems to be a common theme with contractors. It's actually part of their personality. They overpromise all the time because they just have to keep going. They're like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. It's like, I know your intention was good, but it didn't happen. Like we have a property right now where we have to call an HVAC guy out to. We have 2 different contractors on this property. Neither one of them got the HVAC guy out there. So we're doing it, right? So It is what it is. What with most of your new borrowers, with the rehab process, what's most of their challenges?
With the rehab process is finding the right contractor.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different trades out there, and a lot of the big stuff you can sub. You can sub out flooring, you can sub out HVAC, you can sub out
the roof,
everything
plumbing,
exterior, all that fun stuff. It's the nitty gritty. Like, there's not a company that specializes in baseboard.
Yeah.
But you got to put baseboard in a house, right?
Yeah.
There are some companies that will install the cabinets, but most of them will sell you the cabinets.
Right.
Exactly.
So then you got to find someone to put the cabinets in now.
Yep.
Right? So it's that kind of, I don't know if it's a finished carpenter, I don't know what that's called, but that's the person you need. I like jack of all trades, master of none. Because what I found out about those people will spend an hour on YouTube to figure out how it does, and they'll get it done.
YouTube University is a real thing, guys.
Yes, it is.
I get everything done around my house.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really worked out.
Yeah.
So
Something I do want to mention that's great about faster funds, you guys will fund 100% of the project if you've bought it at a good enough discount, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of other hard money lenders, they're going to do like 80 to 90% of the loan value, right?
Yep.
So that's something unique about your guys' company. If all the numbers check out, you can literally fund 100% of the project, right?
Yep, 100% of the rehab and 100% of the property.
Yeah.
Or purchase, excuse me.
That just hearing that gave me confidence. I don't have I don't have any reason to gain confidence off of that, but it does. It's just like, okay, I can do this. I have somebody who has my back, who can make sure, and they want to see me succeed. Like, that's so powerful.
That's the big thing with our company is we want to it has to make sense for you.
Yeah.
It has to, if you're doing a BRRRR process or if you're rehabbing to flip it, it has to make sense. Because if it doesn't make sense for you, why would you come back and borrow again?
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You get right on the first one, you're done.
Right.
So.
All right, so the next R is the rental phase. The hard money lender doesn't really have a whole lot to do with this, but it kind of, you guys are going to look at the deals. I mean, everybody in the office at Faster House is building their rental portfolio.
Right.
So you guys know what these houses should rent out for.
Yeah.
Right.
So you definitely want to make sure it cash flows, right? If you're buying a rental property, it has to make cash every month.
Yeah.
And that's the rent part there. And how you make money is, of course, the numbers, but it's also picking the right tenant.
Yeah.
Right. Making sure they're going to pay, making sure you're in a good area where it's going to rent, all that fun stuff. That's where that stuff has to happen at. And we don't really help you choose the renter, but we're going to help you guide you, what our criteria is when you rent, what websites you put it on, how you show a property. Do you self-showing or do you actually do an open house? Like I believe you guys do open houses, right?
Open houses, yep.
So there's multiple things that we do help with, given our knowledge there, but we don't pick the tenant for you.
Right.
For sure, yeah.
And I'm sure it helps, you guys definitely want to know it's going to cash flow, like you said. So if a borrower is coming to you, hey, I'm planning to keep this for a rental, and you guys have a simple calculator to determine what the cash flow might be. Hey, man, I don't think we can lend on it. It's not going to cash flow for you. I mean, is there any kind of scenario like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at the numbers in the cash flow. People's cash flow mentality might be a little bit different, right? So we are sitting in St. Charles where you might not find a property to cash flow as high as you can somewhere else, but the numbers still work. The rent's just not as low based off the acquisition.
Yeah.
But that's more of an appreciation game. So you might be making $120 a month on a St. Charles property versus $280 a month in a Hazelwood property, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to tell you, hey, this is right or wrong, but we're going to tell you, hey, this is the criteria and the guidelines that we lend on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when it comes to the refi process, is it just as simple as you guys are pointing your borrowers to who to go talk to at the local banks when it comes to refinancing back out?
So we definitely refer a few different banks in town, which of course is always going to help. But also when we underwrite, right, when you apply with us, the big thing there is we're going to look at that. We can't ever use the word guarantee that you're going to be refied on the back end.
Right.
But it's going to be a pretty good probability, if you will, that you're going to be refied on the back end. Because if not, then how are you going to pay us off?
Right.
So we're trying to do that up front. Hey, we know what the banks look for, right? We're going to make sure you can qualify so you can pay us off.
What are some of those qualifications that you're looking for?
Sure. Money in the bank.
Okay. Liquidity.
Yeah. You've got to have cash reserves. First of all, if you don't have cash reserves, you got to get that in line, in my opinion, before you start investing in real estate.
And a lot of people get that in line if they want to get into real estate. They start wholesaling or working for someone else, and and that kind of find the deal to get those reserves up.
Yeah. So build the reserves and then income. So if the tenant stops paying, which they might, how are you going to pay for the property?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big part, right?
Yep.
So the banks are going to look at the debt service ratio, means how much is the rent servicing that debt?
Yeah.
And of course we're going to look at credit. Do you pay your bills now?
Right.
So you got to, although credit score is not the most important thing in the world, we want to look at credit history. Do you actually pay your bills?
Mm-hmm.
I think credit's a hang up for a lot of people. It was for me in the beginning. Like I had some old bad student loans that kind of take me for a while. And it's like, oh man, no lender's going to touch me. I got to get my credit up. Do you tell people like, hey, still apply? We'll see where you're at right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not too far off, or we can tell you to go work on some things.
Yeah, absolutely. So any kind of, probably why I like this position so much is because there's a coaching aspect to it. Meaning I get to inspire and I get to educate. Right? That's my favorite thing in the world to do. So if I'm inspiring and I'm educating, so let's apply and let's see what you're at. So you have $6,000 in the bank. Hey, let's wait a few more months. Let's get that cash reserves up and let's pay down this debt, right? If your credit cards are at 80% every month let's pay those down a little bit too, right? Because your credit score is going to start going up.
Yeah, everybody wants to get in the game right now and get rich overnight, right?
Absolutely.
Rentals is a long game, so
very long game.
Make sure you're ready before you jump into it, I guess.
Yep.
You can still be active in real estate, do some other wholesales or rehabs, and build up the bank a little bit. So being a landlord is not for everybody either, you know? So.
No, there's several ways to invest in real estate, and being a landlord is one of them. But you have to know your personality there, whether you're going to manage the property or you're going to pay someone to manage the property, because there's headaches with both.
Yep.
If you're a nice guy, then in my opinion, that's going to let somebody walk all over them. Probably invest in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And that's honestly how I've gotten a couple of my private lenders, right, to invest in me, is because they thought they wanted to be this landlord, and the people weren't paying rent, and they weren't doing anything about that. I'm like, we got to change this up. And then they decided they hated the rental game, but they still making money off their money by being a private investor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is one of the things too. We talked to a lot of landlords when we look to buy properties, and they'll have like a sob story about the tenant and everything like that. I'm like, you're getting screwed, buddy. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I feel for that tenant as well, for sure, but it's not helping. You. Like, you're getting hurt. You're in the swamp with them.
Yeah, I keep my business and my giving and my charity two different.
Yeah, exactly.
I do both, but I keep them different.
Yeah. But you also, we talked about rentals, but you also obviously lend for rehabs as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that a different kind of criteria when you look at the rehab guys?
We're not looking at the credit as much because you're not being refied on the back end.
Okay.
Right. So when you tell us, hey, we're going to hold this as a rental, we are going to make sure that you're bankable.
Yep.
Okay. If that makes sense. So you can refi on the back end.
Yep.
A rehab's a little bit different in that situation because you're selling the property. Mm-hmm. Now, again, the numbers still have to be in line with the formulas and all that fun stuff, but that's really the only difference is your credit. We're looking closer at the borrower on a rental versus a rehab.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sure you're looking too more at their experience if they're going to rehab a project.
Well, really on the BRRRR property, you're rehabbing too. So experience is going to come in huge there. Brand new borrowers that have never rehabbed a property before, we ask the questions, how are you going to learn this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're not the people there. Faster Funds is not the people there that's going to tell you, hey, you got to replace this, you got to do this, you got to do this. We're going to help you through that when we walk through it.
Yeah.
But we really like working with people who have coaches when it's their first, second rehab.
Yeah. Right.
Because there's going to be things that pop up. Or my experience was I was a real estate agent and my stepfather was a contractor. Mm-hmm. Right. And I had a coach too. So all three of those things really gave the lending company and Faster Funds a more confidence that I'll be okay.
Yeah.
If somebody comes to us, I've never rehabbed a property, I rent an apartment now, and I have no family that can help me out with that. Yeah. How are we going to do this? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So it might be a different thing. Hey, let's find more of a cosmetic rehab versus something that you want to take down walls and stuff like that.
I would recommend for somebody like that to joint venture with more experience rehab on a couple and really get to know the process a little bit. Maybe you might find you flipping houses isn't for you either. So it's not all fun and games all the time.
Yeah,
so.
I've coached several people that got through their first one and they're like, I never want to do that again. Like, fair enough. I have several who that was amazing. Where do I find more?
Right.
So,
yeah. So with the, the qualifications are always like for the properties, like you want at least a 20% discount.
Yeah. Right? So Wayland,
maybe a little margin with that.
70 to 75% of the ARV.
Okay.
All in is where we want to be.
And that buffer there is because there's a lot of times things can go wrong. Yeah. And you need that buffer so that you can get to that 80%. Because banks won't lend over the 80%.
No, not at all.
And that's kind of the bigger reason why.
Right. So when you refi out, they're not going to go over that 80% of the appraised value.
The appraised value.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Right now where we're at in the market, it's really tough to get the deal at a deep enough discount to be all in under 75, 80%.
It is.
Yeah.
Is that a struggle you're seeing right now with a lot of people that are just having a hard time finding the right deals?
There's always a hard time finding the right deals. Yes. And I would also say if you want to find deals, you can find deals.
Sure.
So there's two things, right? There is something, are you focused on deals? I believe the world is abundant. And I believe if I wanted to go find a deal today, I could find a deal.
Yeah.
That's the truth. But it took me a long time to get to this situation, right? You have to turn on, so there's a thing in your mind called the reticulating activating system. And that opens your mind to different things. Okay.
Can you say that again?
Right. It's RAS, but reticulating activating system. And I believe it's in the frontal lobe, and don't quote me on that, of your brain. But the best thing is I just bought a white Ford pickup truck.
I love it. I want it.
Right. Do you know how many white Ford pickup trucks that look exactly like mine are all of a sudden on the road?
Yeah, a lot.
Right. It wasn't that they weren't there before I bought it.
You're just focused on it now.
It's just now my RAS opens my eyes to those. Right. So my RAS, I have trained over the last 2 years to find real estate deals.
Okay.
And then now that takes a while. So there are deals, in my opinion. It's just you have to work for them.
I see a lot of people that try to get into the game and they're like, this is just so hard. There's no deals out there.
Yeah.
Like, well, what if you just flip that mindset and yeah, there are deals. I'm just I'm 3 feet away from it.
Yeah.
I got to keep, I'm going to find it tomorrow.
Any kind of business you're in, mindset's 80%, if not more of it. And real estate investing's on it. Now, it depends on what type of deal you're looking for. If I'm looking for a deal where I want to make $30,000 on a rehab, it might be a little harder. If I'm looking for a BRRRR deal with a cosmetic flip, I can find that. Or if you just want to make $15,000 on a quick rehab, you can find those.
Yep.
I find those on the MLS. Not all the time, but I do. Right?
Yeah, maybe a lot of people do that. Well, I'm working with an agent. They're sending me these deals, and none of them fit my formula, my calculator.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're going about it wrong. So.
Well, honestly, this is a good topic to bring up. What's the short list of people or connectors you need to have to find deals?
There you go.
So that's a great question. So always wholesalers, right? Wholesalers are out there marketing the deals, and of course they're going to make money on them, and I want them to make as much money as possible on it. Now, with that being said, stay on the forefront of the wholesaler's mind, right? We all wholesale, and somebody I met 3 months ago, when I find this deal that may have been perfect for him, but if he didn't talk to me in 3 months, I'm probably not going to send him that deal, right? Because wholesalers want the easy button. Who's going to buy and who's going to show up to closing?
Yes.
So that's the big part right there. So I always have a list of phone. If I need a deal, I'm starting to text them. So what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
Yep.
That's a big one. Also, tell everyone what you're doing.
Yep.
That's the big one. I'm very loud about that. I'm looking for crappy houses. Send them my way. And some of my biggest deals I've done are this person's office administrator.
Yeah.
Aunt's uncle passed away or something crazy like that. But it's just because I was out there and I told people what I would do.
Yep.
It was my form of lead generation.
They call that intention, guys. Intention.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the best leads. If somebody vouched for you, they've seen what you can do, and they send you that person, there's a high probability they're going to do business with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And word spreads fast too. So once it's like, hey, I did some business with Dustin Hoog, because this is a really, I don't care what market you're in, the investing community is kind of a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
And so, if the word on the street goes, hey, Dustin Hoog's a great buyer, he showed up to closing, he paid a fair price and everything like that, people are going to reach out to you with their deals, aren't they? Yeah. So,
100%.
I mean, we do that all the time. We'll find buyers by just, word of mouth kind of situation. Hey, who do you think's good for this? And we'll get a recommendation, and then we have an open house, and we might end up buying the deal. So it's like, make sure that you're out there. Sorry, guys.
So the final R, the repeat. If all this goes well, and it should, because you're connected with great people, if you're going through faster funds in that community, you want to keep doing it again. And the best thing about using other people's money is it allows you to scale up your business.
Yeah, the repeat part, in my opinion, is one of the most impactful part of the BRRRR strategy if you look at it correctly.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is there is a certain point your rental portfolio cash flow is going to cross what I call your freedom line. And your freedom line is that line that how much money do I have to wake up and make every month for me to live how I live now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And once that does, you can continue to buy and your cash flow goes up, or you can slow down buying, but no matter what, your cash flow stays here. Now your mortgage is going to be paid off, but your equity is going to go higher for appreciation, right? And then things get to have fun, right? Then you get to look at things. You have a net worth. You can leave a legacy, children, whatever you want to do, you can do now.
Yeah.
And that's what the repeat does.
Love it. So you got 30 in your portfolio now. Are you already at your freedom number? Or you got
Well, December 34th, when we started, we said we were going to have 20 by 2020. Okay. And that was if everything cash flow at $300 per month.
Yeah.
We realized very quickly that everything didn't cash flow at $300 a month.
Yeah.
But so, we have hit our goal already, but our goal was we would be, our freedom line moved during this process, but from where I set my first goal, our rental portfolio now pays for that.
And we have a goal of 100 properties within 5 years. Like you said, that line might move. You might have paid down a bunch of your other debts through real estate, and you realize I only have a house payment now.
Right.
Now it's funding your lifestyle, whatever that may be.
Right. So our first deal, and I'll have no problem telling you, was $6,000. So our portfolio makes us that every month, no problem, like clockwork, and that pays for all of our bills that we want to pay for.
Wow. What was that?
Yeah, no shit.
6,000. Yeah. Our bills.
Oh, no, I thought you said your first deal you bought.
Oh, no, our
Cash flow
portfolio.
was $6,000.
Our
Oh,
portfolio, excuse
okay.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So our portfolio pays what our freedom line was when we set it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as I say, that freedom number is kind of based on the lifestyle that you want to live.
It always is, 100%.
And as you grow in this business, whether it's like a keeping up with the Joneses mentality, or if it's just like your eyes are open to new things, your standard raises.
Yeah. So you start, well, in my opinion, you should, but you need to think massive. You need to think big. Now I'm at the level where it's like, all right, why do I want to make X amount of money? It's because when I make X amount of money, I can inspire more and I can give more.
Yeah.
And that's been a big thing lately. It's, all right, I'm a very blessed man. Now we work very hard, but I'm extremely blessed. I want to give more.
Yeah.
Well, if I think bigger, then I can give even more.
Right.
And that's been a big thing, kind of the path I'm down right now.
So many of these conversations we have kind of dive into purpose and stuff like that, giving back. And that's just a really common theme. Talking about coaching, that's a very common theme. Mindset's another really common theme. And it's just like, if anything else people can get from this podcast, is just, those are the things you really need to work on.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked to one person that said, "Oh yeah, I figured all this out on my own," and
That's a rare person. That's a very rare person, but some people are like that, I believe.
Yeah.
Some people are, but I think it's very, very rare.
So when it comes to coaching and mentorship, and you're either going to pay the price of mistakes,
Yeah.
or you're going to pay the price for that mentorship and coaching.
Yes.
Mentorship and coaching is always going to be cheaper, and it's always going to be faster.
and it's going to cut down your learning curve.
Yeah, you're still going to have the learning curve, but it's just going to be faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
Because the coach is going to say, don't do that, versus you did it and now you made the mistake and now you got to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a huge coach, and I've had several business coaches, and I still have business coaches today. And I always will.
Yeah.
Because coaching is always going to push me to that next level.
Awesome. So are you going to keep buying more rentals?
Yeah.
How many are you trying to get?
So this year, our plan is to buy 28 properties. 10 of those will be very cosmetic rehabs that we sell. Our goal on those is about a $12,000 to $15,000 profit.
Is that net?
Yeah, that's net. 100% net in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
The rest, we would like to rehab 12 rentals using the whole BRRRR strategy.
Yep.
And then maybe buy 6 more that are occupied or turnkey, where I don't have to rehab them right now, just because of the manpower.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So what's your team look like? I mean, you have a full-time job with Faster Funds.
Yeah.
But you have pretty decent goals for the year. I know your wife works with you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just you two, or what's your team look like?
Well, so my wife and I kind of run all of that. We have he's not on like payroll. He bills me per job, but a full-time maintenance guy. We sub out a lot of things. We have a contractor that's been with us for a year now. And then that is my one portfolio over here. Then I also have run a portfolio with a partner, and we have 2 full-time people there that we constantly keep busy.
Doing the property management?
No, so I and my wife run the property management side. That side is more the retail flips, and then maybe getting some big multifamily with that partnership.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So do you see your team growing, or you think you got the setup you got right now?
We actually just hired. Unfortunately, his wife got COVID, and now I think he has COVID, so we have to wait to start. But I'm going to use the word project manager because I don't know what else to call him. But what he's going to be is my eyes and ears on the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's going to check on them all and stuff like that, and make sure they're moving along pace where we want them to move along pace. And then we're also looking for a part-time administrator and stuff like that.
Cool. So you're just delegating and elevating and all that stuff. That's awesome. And you said you had 4 businesses. I don't know if you mentioned that before this, but you got the rental business, and then I guess those 2 different,
Yes, those are 2. So I have a flipping business that when we purchase and rehab, it all goes in there.
Okay.
We have our rental holding company.
Yeah.
I have 360 properties, which is a business I hold with a partner.
Okay.
We have a separate company for property management that we run all the property management through and stuff like that. And then as of this year, my 3-year-old bought his first rental.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to.
So yes, our goal is he turns 4 next month and a 5-month-old, but from 3 to 18, we will use a BRRRR process once per year to buy them properties. Cool. And they have their own separate LLCs that obviously I run right now until that point. But then age 18, we will stop buying for them. They will have 15 properties in there that they can really do whatever they want with at that point.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
What's that projected net worth? Have you looked at that on the calculator?
So there's a couple things I've looked at, and we're kind of doing some fun stuff, and I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't know what I'm doing, if it's right or wrong.
Sure.
But what we are doing is the cash flow in their property, okay? The goal is for it to cash flow $250 per month, and they pay me a 10% management fee, so they're not getting off free.
Yeah.
That $100 per month per door
Okay.
purchases I'm going to call it a universal life policy, but I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Okay.
Because that life policy we can borrow from at a certain age.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So the goal there is that we'll have funded by he's 18. I'm talking about Brody now because that's who we have.
Yep.
$140,000 we would have paid into there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then he should have about $140,000 sitting in his bank account if there's no major things going wrong with the property, which there will be.
Yeah.
So that 100, we never have to pay into that life insurance policy again after the age of 18.
That's incredible.
That's the cool part, right?
Yeah.
And when I say it's $1 million product, again, don't quote me on this. I don't know how much this is accurate. This is just what I believe in my mind. But I believe he can borrow about $10,000 a year or take out $10,000 a year from that policy from ages 18 to 24.
Okay.
Right? I've had a lot of college. I don't know if he wants to go to college. I don't care if he goes to college. There's several different ways to do that.
Sure.
But he can pull that money. Then you stop pulling money out, maybe like $500-$600 a year has to come out of that policy to pay him.
Yeah.
Okay. But what it's forecasted out to be, I think when he's 80, he can leave like $3 million to his children.
That's awesome. Yeah.
For stuff that I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And when I had that was powerful. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know if it's all accurate, but it made sense to me and I did.
The machine makes sense.
Yeah.
The machine is what makes sense.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, why not? Because I don't need his money. I don't need that cash flow. So if it's something that I can, because of what we're doing now, leave our grandkids a couple $1 million, that's powerful.
It's pretty awesome, man. I want to do something like that for my kids too.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with what you're talking about with the insurance policies, and it is pretty powerful stuff for sure.
It is.
So, awesome. Good stuff, guys. Well, we're coming up on the hour mark. I think we'll start to wrap it up here. Dustin, Jake,
I actually had a final question here.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have any parting words for people? Any advice or thoughts that you'd like to share with
took the
them?
words out of my mouth.
You know, it's funny. So I'm pretty active on Facebook, if you will, and I did shared a new borrowers video yesterday, and my headline was ask me how you can do this where you can either get 1 or 100. And people said, well, how can I get 200? How can I get 100? And it was 3 things. That is, take massive action, and that means massive, massive action. Have 100% faith over fear, and hire a coach.
Nice. I like that.
Those are my 3 parting words. And that is in any business you want to get into. Honestly, that's anywhere in life, in my opinion.
Right. You've
You've got to take massive action to hit any kind of goal you want. You have to, especially in today's world, you have to have more faith than fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Faith meaning what's the best that can happen, fear meaning what's the worst that can happen. And if you live off of what's the best that can happen, things are going to go wrong,
Yes.
but it's never going to get to the worst.
Yep.
And then I always say hire a coach because you're going to move a lot faster.
Love it. Words of wisdom. Good stuff, man. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to find out more about lending,
I would check out fasterfundslending.com.
Yep.
That goes right to our website, and we'd love to chat.
All right, we'll put some links in the show notes, and I'm sure we'll have you back here again when we're on
Anytime.
our freedom number. I think we'll do that.
Anytime. I like it.
All right, Dustin.
Cool. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.